The following is a non-profit compilation of excerpts from documentaries, interviews, hearings, conferences, and news clips to create awareness of the invisible health hazards of EMF, electromagnetic fields. The radiation we get from cell towers, cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc. The invisible health hazard. Solutions are tagged with a heart.
The phone company Sprint shut down a cell phone tower on the campus of a California elementary school after some parents said it may be linked to several recent cases of childhood cancer.
My son missed growing up with his friends. My son lost all of his hair. It's not something that I wish on anybody, to watch their child go through what our children have gone through.
Kelly Prime's son Kyle was just 10 years old when he was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2016. 5 months later, Kyle's friend and classmate Mason Ferrulli developed brain cancer. 2 more kids at the school were diagnosed this year.
Sprint finally removed this cell tower in 2019.
We do know that this type of brain cancer is not genetic. He was a very active and healthy child. He ate a well-balanced diet. And more than one doctor that we have met with over the years have told us that they believe the tower was 100% the cause of his diagnosis. The cell tower was placed in 2009. In 2012, a female teacher was diagnosed with breast cancer. 2014, another female teacher diagnosed with breast cancer. 2015, a third female teacher was diagnosed with breast cancer. 2016, a 10-year-old male student was diagnosed with Wilms tumor. 2017, our son Mason, 10 years old, was diagnosed with brain cancer. 2018, an 11-year-old male student was diagnosed with liver cancer. 2018, a fourth female teacher was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in 2019, a 6-year-old female student was diagnosed with brain cancer. In November 2019, the cell tower was finally removed, and there has not been one diagnosis at that school since.
Firefighters developed many of these symptoms when cell towers were placed on or near their fire stations. And this led the International Association of Firefighters to develop a policy resolution in 2004 to successfully fight cell towers on fire stations. This is now law and codified in 2 California telecom bills, AB 57 and AB 537, that exempt fire stations from having cell towers due to health effects on firefighters.
These firefighters are exempt from having cell towers placed on or adjacent to their fire stations. What about everyone else?
My tumour was just here, hence there's a scar there.
Has found that those who started to use cell phones heavily before age 20 have 4 to 6 times more brain tumors by the time they reach their 30s.
World Health Organization classifies Wi-Fi radiation as a Class 2B possible carcinogen in the same category as lead and DDT.
That classification has been done in 2011, and since that time we have at least 2 large studies suggest that it should be reclassified as at least group 2A, or some people believe that it should be reclassified as group 1. So it's 100% carcinogen, in other words.
A sensational discovery in the sense that they have spent $25 million and worked for 16 years, and now showing that rats that are exposed to wireless telecommunication like mobile phones and similar things get cancer. And it has been a huge debate whether mobile phones and tablets do cause an increase in cancer incidence, and this proves it beyond any doubt.
If they were to re-evaluate radiofrequency radiation,
it would be placed in Class 1, i.e. a human carcinogen.
If you look at the trend in overall cancer, it's going down. As fewer people are smoking, the cancer rates overall are dropping. But if you look at age-specific rates and specific types of cancer not related to smoking, what you conclude is that there's a dramatic increase in pediatric cancer, specifically brain, liver, and thyroid cancers. It's a 4-fold increase in this rare cancer, rectal cancer, in young Americans under the age of 40 since 2010. It's a rare cancer. It's less rare now.
The United States magazine Consumer Reports recently recommended that nobody keep a phone in their pocket. Nobody.
Phones, when they're in your pocket, they are on. They are smart, and they are looking for a signal from the tower. Where are you? Here I am. And so long as they are turned on, they are going to be radiating into you.
So make sure you use speakerphone, get an air tube headset, and when it's on the body, make sure that you put it on airplane mode. When it's either in the pocket or sometimes in the bra.
We function because of moving currents in our body, okay? That's a basic principle. Nerves function because of shifts in electric charge. And the movement of electric charge in our bodies is affected by radiation from the outside, okay? And the structure of the water in our body is very important for normal function, and that also is affected by charge coming from outside the body. And when you understand those two basic things, you see that this whole field of the electromagnetic spectrum affects us. And it was then that I started to tell my patients, well, if you're not feeling well, we might want to see if you can turn off that Wi-Fi router at night, try and limit your use of cell phones.
The Federal Communications Commission is who is supposed to be regulating wireless technology. But if you look at the regulations, they're almost 20 years old. So that means our most advanced technology is using science that's at least 20 years old.
They built a model that they called SAM, standing for Standard Anthropomorphic Mannequin. But bizarrely, what they did was SAM was based on the 90th centile of military recruits. So he wasn't representative of a child or even a woman, or actually an average man. This guy, just his head weighed 5 kilograms, which is more than some children's entire body.
They set the standards to avoid heating up that fellow's brain after a 6-minute phone call.
What is our exposure in a day? It's not one cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up.
In addition to the concerns about the FCC guidelines themselves, the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 prohibits any telecommunication company to be sued on the basis of the safety or health of their products. So in other words, there is no liability to the telecommunications industry of any of the impacts of their products.
When they're tested next to the head, they're tested with a spacer. There's a space between the phone and the head. The industry has succeeded in getting the FCC to accept an approach where the phone is not used like this. And you know that this is exactly how most people use phones.
The manufacturers actually tell people in the instruction manual, which I never read, not to put the cell phone against your ear.
It's not easy to find. You have to go to Settings, General, About. Down to the bottom here to Legal, then to RF exposure.
There's the BlackBerry, for example, warns to keep your phone at least 0.98 inches away from the body when transmitting.
The obvious question is this. If there is no risk to holding a phone to your head or putting it in your pocket or bra, why are they warning consumers? And why is the industry bearing the warnings where no one will see them?
The FCC is a captured agency. They're captured by the telecom industry. There's a revolving door between the telecom industry and the FCC. There's people that have worked at the FCC that now work for the telecom industry. There's people that work for the telecom industry that are now at the FCC.
There's a 2015 report by Harvard University, and the whole chapter is dedicated to how the wireless industry is controlling the FCC.
The bottom line here is that the FCC has been busy removing consumer protections in almost every industry that you regulate. The FCC can make a difference when you focus on the greater public interest, not on fulfilling the wish list of a few large companies.
Money on my mind, I count it every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I count it. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24/7, and I stack it. Our party's going down, and everybody's counting 1, 2, 3.
Plus, the science is heavily influenced by industry funding. If you looked at who funded the studies, 70% of the independent studies showed effects, and only 32% of the industry-funded studies showed effects. So you see that there's an influence in money on this topic. Just like many other topics, tobacco is another one where essentially the industry funded science that was going to show their products were safe.
Chesterfield gives you scientific facts and names its ingredients. Chesterfield uses tobaccos pre-tested by laboratory instruments. Outside independent consultants include many eminent scientists from leading universities for the most desirable smoking qualities, entirely safe for use in the mouth.
Believe me, friends, Chesterfield has for your smoking pleasure and protection every advantage known to modern science.
Exposure to wireless radiation. Is there a test going on? Indeed there is. and we are all part of it without any controls. There's no monitoring, there's no health studies, there's no health surveys before they put cell towers in, there's no safety tests. Dr. Blumenthal brought this up at a Senate committee meeting, and you know what? He said, and industry said, yeah, we don't have any ongoing studies of 5G, no problem. It's no problem because, you know, we can count on industry to do it. They've done it before: tobacco, asbestos, lead, flame retardants, plastics, all number of things that have been inadequately tested and inadequately regulated.
How much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? I stress independent research. Is that independent research ongoing? Has any been completed? Where can consumers look for it? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
Thank you, Senator. I think, thank you for your focus on the issue. Safety is paramount, and as you alluded to, we rely on the expert agencies, we rely on the findings of the FDA and others as to the requirements to keep all of us safe. There are no industry-backed studies, to my knowledge right now. Happy to visit with you as to what opportunities you think there needs to be more studies, and we're always for more science. We also rely on what the scientists tell us.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
No, I'm not aware of any. So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here, so far as health and safety is concerned.
Why do you think there has been such a lack of safety testing on 5G technology?
Because they know it's dangerous. The industry knows it's dangerous. Big Wireless knows it's dangerous. They're just trying to get as much of it out there as they can before they're finally held accountable. Sadly, we've seen this all before. Big corporations did what they always do. They lied. And then they paid off politicians, and they paid scientists, and they silenced people and discredit them. And sadly, they did get away with a lot of it, and that's what we need to make sure doesn't happen with 5G.
There is no scientific evidence, none, zero, that it's safe. On the other hand, there is voluminous evidence suggesting a real and present danger of risk to human health.
The industry wants to keep the cat in the bag as long as they possibly can, that there is harm. They don't like the word radiation. They don't like the word safety. They're against all of this because they don't want to alarm people. And the big thing is they have no liability insurance. By Lloyd's of London or Swiss Re, the two top insurance companies.
And they don't have insurance because insurance authorities rank non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation and 5G as high risk.
There are both acute and long-term health effects. And acute effects occur shortly after exposure to a wireless device or a nearby cell tower. It's like an allergy. Those who are sensitive experience neurologic symptoms such as headaches, nausea, dizziness, irritability, memory loss, heart palpitations, insomnia, and fatigue. The long-term effects of a toxin, be it wireless technology or chemicals, occurs over time. Biologic damage is cumulative. Studies show that wireless radiation is associated with cancer, reproductive failure, including miscarriage, neurologic harms such as ADHD, cognitive decline, and memory impairment.
Here we take a drop of blood, put it on a slide, and view it under the microscope. The top slide shows my blood before I was exposed to Wi-Fi. The cells are round and free-floating in small, loose groupings. The slide at the bottom shows what happens to my blood when I spend 10 minutes exposed to Wi-Fi. Every cell on the slide is sticking together. This type of blood is unable to efficiently deliver oxygen and nutrients to cells and get rid of waste products produced by cells. And it's called rouleau formation.
If you look at wireless radiation and blood-brain barrier, Salford, he's done the most work on this, and he found there's increased permeability of the blood-brain barrier in this last 4 weeks. Just 2 hours of exposure can cause leakage of albumin up to 8 weeks. And he also demonstrated neuronal damage in the cortex, hippocampus, and basal ganglia.
Do you see anything online of how it could open up your blood-brain barrier?
I don't know about how, but that
it does?
I found an article. I was trying to find the validity of it, but it has a statement on here.
Damage to the blood-brain barrier. Radio frequency radiation exposure has been shown to affect the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, as well as altering the expression of microRNA within the brain, which researchers state could lead to adverse effects such as neurodegenerative disease. Whoa. How come we don't know that?
Discovered thousands of studies linking the radiation from wireless technology to cancers, DNA damage, infertility, and autism. In the short term, many children and adults are suffering from headaches, insomnia, nosebleeds, skin rashes, brain fog, behavior issues, fatigue, anxiety, depression, and more, and are calling for hardwired technology access in school with no wireless or cellular, except in emergencies.
The Act is based on the well-established precautionary principle, which simply put is better safe than sorry. Few parents realize that the Wi-Fi box just 5 feet over the heads of children in our schools is broadcasting radiation at the exact same frequency as a microwave oven, but without shielding throughout the day. I believe that most parents and school board officials would act to hold off wireless networks if they knew these risks. Of course, there are no such risks if you put ordinary fiber optic or cable in our schools and the computers are plugged in.
More than 20 countries and some U.S. cities have already started limiting Wi-Fi exposure in classrooms.
I think Wi-Fi in schools is a huge mistake because we can do the same things in terms of internet connection in a wired fashion and not jeopardize the health of our children and our teachers, which we are currently doing now.
We can wire our homes. So move towards Ethernet, move towards fiber optics, and if you must have Wi-Fi, make sure you turn it off at night. You can get a simple timer so you don't even have to think about it. We can have amazing technology, but it can be wired.
And then who knew? You can actually hardwire many of our cell phones, right? This is a little adapter. You plug it into your cell phone. You plug this into the Ethernet cable that goes into here, that's going into your router, where the fiber optics or the high-speed cable is coming into your home at the other end of this. And you can do the same thing for your tablets, for your iPads, for your Chromebooks. Again, a simple little adapter or a dongle. Once you have done that, the final step is to turn off the antennas. And then you always want to take that third step and measure.
The findings of the commission, that is that wireless radiation is harmful, over 90% of the papers that have been reviewed show harm from oxidative stress, the mechanism that causes harm from wireless radiation. And oxidative stress creates free radicals. One of the problems with free radicals is they create chronic inflammation, and that chronic inflammation leads to the diseases shown here.
The majority of the New Hampshire Commission voted to support 15 recommendations to the New Hampshire governor.
The New Hampshire State Commission, consisting of members of their legislature as well, recommended wired networks in schools, not Wi-Fi. They recommended creating radiation-free zones in commercial and public buildings. And they asked for mandatory setbacks so that cell towers cannot be located on street lamps at your bedroom window.
Scientists and doctors are coming together on this issue with multiple appeals. This is the 5G appeal, calling for a moratorium, as of course we need, on new emitting technologies. And all of these groups internationally are rich in both quality and quantity. So the majority of intelligent, informed voices on this subject, people published in this area, are all on board that there's a very serious problem.
This is a problem that we can solve. There's tremendous people around the world working on this right now. And I believe we're coming to a tipping point where enough people realize that this is an important topic and that there are solutions. So I recommend that you share this, because if enough people wake up to this issue, then industry will start creating safe technology. And once they do that, our entire society can move towards a healthier future.